Greetings, everybody, and welcome to Mahamudra for the People. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. So we're going to continue where we last left off with Karma Chagme's union of Mahamudra and Dzogchen. But before we begin, let's sit for a bit. So let's sit for about 10 minutes. Allow your body to be relaxed, settled like a mountain. Your breath to also be very natural. You don't need to control anything. Just let everything come as it does. Try to let your gaze be a gaze of vast, open, spacious awareness, oceanic, free of labeling, free of center, free of edge, free of projection. And let your mind be the essence of Rigpa, this vast, ever responsive, naturally relaxed experience of mind beyond time and space, not limited to any particular location. And we'll sit like this for, oh, we'll do this for 12 minutes. Okay, so welcome back, everybody. And so we're continuing on with Karma Chakme's Union of Mahamudra and Dzogchen. Uh, and uh, maybe I'll just check in and see if anybody has any questions that may have come up over the week. And if you don't, no problem. But if you do, I want to be able to make a little bit of time. So, okay, maybe not. Good. Well, we will move on to the next portion of the text, what he's talking about. So, what he had been talking about before was the importance of recognizing the nature of mind. And part of what he, was Karma Chagme was, reinforcing was the importance of understanding that thought activity, stillness, and awareness, right, exist as a unity, no matter what, or you could say they're all exactly the same experience, right? That when we experience stillness, right, there's this unity of stillness and awareness, and when we experience thought activity, like a lot of thoughts, like a mala, right? All of the thoughts are occurring like little beads, right? But the thing that holds them all together is the string of rigpa, right, of awareness. And so you can't separate rigpa from thought activity. You can't separate rigpa from stillness. Therefore, um, preferencing stillness, which is what a lot of meditation practitioners kind of tend to do in the beginning because they feel that stillness is quote unquote a superior place to be or a more experienced place to be. Preferencing this stillness over thought activity is a mistake, right? It's really kind of falling into this binary. And then what's kind of, problem that can arise after that is the need to cultivate stillness, right? When there's thought activity, we'll sometimes think, oh gosh, there's all this thought activity. I need to like chill myself out, right? I need to get rid of the thoughts, right? And again, all this is showing us is how biased we are, right? Awareness is constantly present no matter what, right? And the key piece of whether it's Mahamudra or it's Dzogchen is the recognition of this, right? Especially if we begin to look at, these, the manifestation of some of these, the boons, as it were, right? The benefits of these practices, which include non-meditation, right? This experience of non-meditation, which means all of the artifice of, individual who is meditating, doing a thing dissolves, right? Because there's a naturalness to the recognition of awareness and thought activity. Or another one of these kind of accomplishments is sometimes called the yoga of one taste, right? And this is where we're able to begin to experience everything as having exactly the same nature, right? So anyway, Karma Chagme, supportively, kindly, um, is urging us to really recognize this for ourselves, right? Don't read books and just, file away the information and say, oh, now I understand. That doesn't mean anything, right? All this means is that you have books on your shelf and words in your head, right? But the actual experience is something different, and the lived experience is the point, right? And so we find, in a whole host of other texts, and this is not that Karma Chagme is not speaking of this either, but this kind of recognition or realization of the nature of awareness is not based on any particular kind of educational background, language background, cultural background, class background, race background, ethnicity background, identity background, blah, 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 blah. Has nothing to do with any of this kind of stuff. And the beautiful thing is that we can be exceptionally dull, like myself, and still be able to kind of edge into the experience of this, right? We don't need to be very well educated or experienced. And, he urges us, and I'm just summing up some of the details from the last class, the importance of diligence, right? But don't do it out of guilt. Do it to get free, right? And don't do it just for you to get free. Do it so that you can be a benefit to others. And so this is where we left off. And he said, basically as well, just to kind of sum up some of the other benefits of this, is that this level of awareness becomes a key component to the dying process. If we want to die well, right, we can start by training in this now. This is really important. This is probably more important than anything else as far as practices you can do. What we're doing with this kind of practice, Mahamudra, is settling into a way of being that is beyond a lot of our human limitations in terms of the way we think and the concepts we use and the way we contextualize things, right? So we're getting right at settling into the direct, free experience of being, which is so much better than propagating some kind of religious idea about what we think will happen when we die or who we think we are. Right? Why is it better? It's better because, religion is still ultimately overly structured, right? Religion has, once you become a something, then everybody who's not a something becomes another, right? Once you become a Buddhist, anybody who's not a Buddhist is, an unfortunate person. if you're Orthodox, right? If you're really Orthodox, people really actually begin to think this way, right? So better to not be anything and just be space, right? Be a rainbow, and then everyone you meet can be a rainbow too. Yeah, it's a much kind of healthier thing. So, I'm super happy that Andy is here live, and I'm super thrilled by the painting behind Andy. It was really, really beautiful. So I'm gonna move on now to the next part. And actually we might actually even potentially finish the text, although I don't want to rush, so we'll just see. There are 2 songs left. So the next song is song number 7, called Enhancement. And so Karma Chugme begins by saying, although the master and your own mind may be inseparable in essence, and one taste as the emptiness of Dharma Dhatu, visualize above your head the master as Amitabha, the unobstructed expression of awareness, and supplicate him, or them. By the power of blessing, you will have progress in your meditation. For this reason, practice daily the Guru Yoga. Right? So Karma Chagme does not necessarily mean practice a specific Guru Yoga. But he points out this, so I'm going to just start from the very beginning. So he says, although the master and your own mind may be inseparable in essence, right? So when we recognize that really, like, the key to all of our practice is the recognition of the nature of mind. And once we begin to, have a really felt sense that all we are ever doing at any given time is experiencing just that, right? So meaning all, like what you are experiencing right now as I speak and you hear words and you see this, like, play of images and stuff like this, colors and all of this, and you're in a room, right, that has temperature and qualities and maybe other ambient sounds. All you are ever doing is experiencing this, right? Not this moment, but this field of appearance, right? And should everybody, go walk out the door or jump out a window, then you'll be doing this just in other circumstances, but it's only the same thing, right? And then you go drive 30 miles, open the door and get out of a car. What are you doing? You're experiencing the same thing, right? You go back in time 30 years, you're experiencing the same thing. Go forward in time 60 years, you're experiencing the same thing. The moment you're on your deathbed, you're experiencing exactly the same thing. When you enter into the bardo state without a body, what are you left with? Experience of what's happening, right? So what he's saying here is that although the master in your own mind may be inseparable in essence, right? So when we begin to really feel into this is all that there ever is, experience, and all we're ever doing is playing with how I am reacting, whether I'm able to rest into this natural flow of everything that's happening with ease and a sense of relaxed confidence. Right? As we get closer and closer to this becoming very innate, right? Then we realize that there is no difference between, basically our mind is our Lama. Our mind is the guru, meaning this interplay, this interface of everything will be, is all there ever is. And this is the guru, right? Even when we experience this, right? And this experience of one taste as the emptiness of Dharmadhatu arises, right? Meaning all we're ever doing, this is like Groundhog Day. We're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's just a little different, right? Tomorrow will be the Wednesday experience of this, and then the Thursday experience. And we'll be aging, right? In 10 years, it will be the 10 years from now experience of this. Maybe some of us will have died by then. And then we move on to the next thing. But even if you've died, all you're, again, the only thing left to do is experience what is happening, right? The more we settle into this, the more we open into this, the more we're able to actually glean that everything is and is of and has one taste, right? The one taste experience of phenomena is all that there is. So when we experience this, when we experience our mind as the guru, right, even in the face of this, it is still important, right, to visualize the guru on the crown of our head. And so he was, Karma Chagme was saying, in the form of Amitabha, right? And it is important to do guru yoga. Now, why is this, right? Especially for Americans, the Americans in the, in the group, we hate being, under the control, what feels like being under the control of another person. And so we don't want to, feel like we're, somebody's student. But actually, that's not why we practice Guru Yoga. We practice Guru Yoga to open our heart, right? We practice Guru Yoga to open to the freshness of what this moment is. Guru Yoga is a really important and helpful technique to change the locus from me and my stuff to everything else, right? It gets us out of being the center of the universe, right? It opens us up to much, much more, right? Now, how people experience Guru Yoga, how they connect to it is really personal, right? So some people might find that going through like a really technical Guru Yoga sadhana is beneficial. right? Others might find that, writing poetry or painting or going for a walk outside or surfing or, being in the elements, being out in nature is also, an equally valid form of guru yoga. Like, that's not my business to judge, right? And I don't own any stock in Buddhism, so I I don't have any like vested interest or, conflict of interest even in trying to propagate, one particular Ponzi scheme over another. Um, but I definitely agree with Karma Chagme that the Guru Yoga is important, right? Learning how to be able to open up to something bigger than ourselves, more brilliant than ourselves, uh, right? And also something that is a reflection of us too, because this is the same, right? It's not that we're, trying to rub our own nose in it. We're trying to just open up to more, right? Guru Yoga is just opening up to more. And so he says, although you may have realized that the yidam is the manifestation aspect of your own mind, visualize your body in the form of the yidam. In this particular case, he uses Chinmezi, the great compassionate one, Avalokiteshvara, and recite the 6 syllables. Right. So even if you're, you have good experience and realization as a result of yidam practice, don't stop. Right? Keep going, keep visualizing, keep practicing, keep reciting their mantra. So what we're beginning to see, right, is he's saying, like, don't hang up your like professorial robe on the hook and leave. Like, stay in reality, right? Stay here, right? Stay and participate, stay and play, right? Don't go retire, right? Stay. So he says the confidence for planting the seed of the Rupakayas, the form bodies, and the secret mantra teaching of the unity between development and completion, right? This is, this kind of the manifestation. Like, it's important basically to follow everything through, right? Visualize yourself as the yidam. Keep, understanding that there's no difference between your mind and the yidam. Keep reciting the mantra, right? There is benefit in maintaining a relationship to development and completion stage practices. This is a little bit unrelated, but I've been teaching, it just wrapped up last Sunday, this year-long Dzogchen or Hatha Yoga program through Pure Land Farms, focusing on the Yutuk Nintik's Dzogchen cycle. And Dr. Nita was teaching one day during this retreat that was being held out in LA as kind of the last retreat for the year associated with the program. And he was talking about this union or unity of Hatha Yoga, in this case we could say Mahamudra, and development stage practice, creation stage practice, right? And so this involves practicing a yidam, right? Visualizing yourself as a yidam, reciting the mantra, generating this felt sense that body, speech, and mind are the same as the yidam. And he was pointing out, and Jamgon Contra Lodra Tai points this out also. There's a really good book translated by Sarah Harding called Creation and Completion, that I would urge people to look at if you're interested in this. That creation stage practices have a way of purifying in very specific ways karmas that caused us to be conceived in the first place, and that develop in that very early phase of being. So from conception all the way to birth, right? This kind of early portion of our being can be purified completely by the way that visualizations are constructed. So usually the seed syllable transforming into a lotus blossom, on top of the lotus blossom, sun seed and or a moon seed, and then another seed syllable becoming the deity, going on and on and on, right? So Jamgon Khantra Lodro points out that's specifically what these are purifying. Why is this important? It's important because it's helpful to eliminate any obstacles associated with that. So we can purify with this, right? And then engage in yidam practice. And this helps to purify all of these other experiences. But why Karma Chugme is bringing this up is balance, right? It's good to be balanced, right? We can get really extreme and just say, oh, I only practice Mahamudra and I don't care about the other stuff. That's not so important. And on one level, yeah, that's not necessarily untrue. But then there are these skillful means that offer us these opportunities to purify these other forms of karma. And why not engage those, right? It's, you could probably technically build a bathroom with a hammer. I'm sorry, with a screwdriver even. You could use one part to hammer nails. You could force screws with the screw part. You could probably pry things off. You could probably do a lot with one tool, right? But it would be painful. It would be inconvenient. It would be slow. It would be all of these things, right? Which is why there are a lot of different tools you can use, right? And the unity of all these tools allow you to take care of your projects in a much more timely way, and convenient way, right? And it's very similar with Dharma, right? So he's saying, like, don't become an extremist, really. And so he says, although the 6 classes of beings may be without any concrete existence, with spontaneous immense love and compassion for sentient beings who, without understanding, are wandering through samsara, inhale with your breath the misdeeds and sufferings of the 6 classes of beings and dissolve it into yourself. Contemplate that all sentient beings are then separated from suffering. Together with the exhalation of your breath, let all the merit and roots of virtue you have accumulated dissolve into beings, and contemplate that all beings are endowed with immeasurable happiness and well-being. The indispensable means for attaining Buddhahood is the visualization of this giving and taking, right? This Tonglen. The essence of the profound teachings. And this connects to this phrase attributed to Guru Rinpoche, who says, when practicing Hatha Yoga or Dzogchen, keep your view as vast as space and your conduct as fine as barley flour. Right. So even if you know that all sentient beings are naturally liberated appearance, be compassionate, be a beneficial presence. Right? Don't forget, this relative side of things. And occasionally, we will meet these people who are quote unquote advanced practitioners who are huge jerks, right? They're mean to people, they just go about doing whatever they want, helping themselves to whatever they want, because, they have realized the emptiness of self and other, right? But they forget the impact that they have. They don't understand the impact that they have, and they will create a wake of damage and destruction, behind them, right? So many people bring this up. Guru Rinpoche brings this up. Dr. Nita mentions this in his spontaneous song at the end of The Mirror of Light. Karma Chugme brings this up. This comes up over and over again. Why does this come up over and over again? Well, because I think this mistake is made over and over again. Right? People think, oh, well, and then not even think, right? They may have authentically recognized or realized the non-dual state, and then they go ahead and help themselves to all the honey that could possibly exist. And that honey is people's money, it's people's bodies, it's people's things, it's, real estate, it's Rolls Royces, it's, it doesn't even need to be that big, right? It could be a much smaller kind of thing. Right? But so Karma Chagme here is also pointing out, don't forget compassion, right? Don't forget this. engage in practices like Tonglen, right? So never give up, on your relationship to the guru, again, not because, you're an idiot, but because Guru Yoga opens up the heart. Don't forget the relative benefit of Yidam practice, right? All of these development stage practices or creation stage practices that are skillful means, right? They weren't just they were kind of developed and propagated and practiced and caused so many beings to become realized. Don't think that just because I practice Mahamudra, I'm done with all of that, right? And then don't forget compassion, right? It can be a little a little bit of a downer for those who are really in a rush to get the heck out, you know. So slow down and look at who's next to you. Like they say in church, right? I used to love, being I used to go to funerals all the time when I worked in corrections, and it was usually a split affair. Like, the Department of Corrections would do a part, and then the local, pastor or priest or whomever. And those moments in sermons where everybody would be asked to kind of shake hands with the person next to you or behind you or in front of you. Like, I used to get such a kick out of that. Like, you get to, say hello and how are you? You know, but a lot of, Vajrayana, serious Vajrayana practitioners don't seem to want to do that, right? They just want to get their emptiness and get out. So don't be like that. That's not helpful. So now he's going to go into some very secret thing, which I'll go into a little bit. So he says, by gazing with semi-closed, I'm just going to use the term eyes, at the rays of the sun in the morning and in the afternoon, there will manifest rainbows, lights, rays, big and small circles, syllables in the forms of deities. Look while mingling the practice with mind essence, and you will perceive the Sambhogakaya realm of unified luminosity and emptiness. Without letting the view remain as a mere assumption, the profound point of Dzogchen is to be able to see directly, right? And so here he's talking about Togal, right? So, everything up until now has all been Trekcha, right? So he's saying, practice, really understanding the nature of mind, right? Truly, truly mastering your mind, right? And then don't forget Guru Yoga. And then don't forget, creation stage practices. And then don't forget compassion. And then also don't forget Togal, right? So for us, what he's saying is be level-headed, right? Don't be extreme. Don't be extreme with anything, right? Be relaxed. I don't think it would be disingenuous or inaccurate to say that on average, Tibetans are very, very pragmatic, right? Anybody who's been, in, for example, India or Nepal or something in these big Tibetan communities, we'll see that there's like this heavy dose of pragmatism that just seems to be part of the Tibetan cultural way of being. And this too is a manifestation of that, right? He's a be even, be solid, be stable, right? Don't be like, what was it? Was it Icarus who tried to fly towards the sun? Yeah, don't be like that, right? There's so many good stories of people like that who, they get a little bit of instruction and they go all the way up, thinking that they can, merge with the sun, and then their little wax wings melt and they fall to oblivion, right? Don't be, don't be manic, is what he's saying, right? Be, get sleep, get rest, chill out. So these are, and so all of this falls within this bracket. This particular song is enhancement, right? So remembering this is important too, right? So we can say, oh, I practice Mahamudra, it's the penultimate practice, And so he's saying, okay, you can use Guru Yoga as an enhancement, right? So when we find ourselves, I was talking with somebody not too long ago who was talking about how their practice just feels like they hit a wall, right? With Mahamudra, and it's hit a wall. And I don't think it can go, it's not that it can't, it could probably go deeper, but I don't know how. It was a really good question. And so my advice was, it was two things, like remember that you're dying, right? Remember that you're going to die, and then practice Guru Yoga, right? And of course, both of these are a little mysterious, right? Well, thank you, for the reminder I'm going to die. What am I supposed to do with that? And then what am I supposed to do with Guru Yoga? And it's like, yes, figure that out. Figure out how that feels. Like, go do it, right? So these are enhancement techniques. Guru Yoga as an enhancement technique. When we feel like, when we feel super jaded, who here has an advanced degree? Yeah, good, good. So, yeah. So when you feel like you've got that that advanced degree and you're really, you know, lauding your intelligence, and that intelligence is getting in the way of, resting like a simpleton, right? Sometimes the best thing to do is do Guru Yoga, right? And of course, there are all sorts of good ones. There's, the Kempo Gongshar Guru Yoga that Nalanda Translation Committee produced is a really good example of a Guru Yoga that has no guru other than mind, right? It just creates a sense of openness, right? Connection to the natural state, right? But it could be Milarepa Guru Yoga, could be something like, parts of the Kunchak Chidu where it's Guru Rinpoche, it could be Sukha Siddhi Guru Yoga, it could be just remembering your guru, whoever they were, right? And imagining that they dissolve into your heart and then resting into open space. And it could be sitting in a museum, right? Being with art, or going to the beach, right? And sitting and having this clear, big, vast open space, right? But this is an enhancement because, well, the enhancement part, right? We have to uh, be able to learn how to self-diagnose, right? This is a lot like a kind of spiritual medicine, right? Oh, I feel like I'm overeducated. I feel kind of jaded. I feel like my practice just, has lost that sparkle. I need to feel into Guru Yoga, and let this be some kind of interpretive, creative endeavor, right? Really discover it for yourself. And it's not like you go to the pharmacy and be like, I need like 10 Guru Yoga tabs. You're like, okay, do you have insurance? You do, give them the card, and you take the Guru Yoga tablet, right? You have to really feel, right? This means, for Americans, you have to understand what devotion is. It's not a very nice thing. It dissolves you. So that's, the enhancement, one enhancement. Again, we can get way into emptiness, right? And then creation stage practices could be really helpful as an enhancement, right? We can get, almost like, I'm not saying like I don't even like using this word because it gets gets intense and people have a lot of fear around it. But we could practice these non-conceptual practices in such a way that we kind of completely disassociate from location and body, right? This is a great time to come back to Yidam practice, right? All of a sudden, I am the Yidam, right? So if you're Vajrayana, you're holding your curved knife, your Kapala, your Katvanga in the crook of your arm, body is the deity, sound is the mantra, location is her mandala, right? This brings you right back. to space, right? It also allows you this ability to have relationship to the everyday world and all the people in it. Everybody is a manifestation of Vajrayana in this particular case, right? But it could be Vajrakalaya, it could be Tara, it could be, Medicine Buddha. Could, I mean, this part doesn't really matter so much, but understanding again this medicine, right? When to, go to the pharmacy to go get a bottle of Yidam, right? A couple tablespoons of Yidam, and then see how that goes. Or if we get so, vast that we have a hard time connecting with people, we're like, I don't know what these blobs of light are, light and movement here, making sound that lacks any inherent existence. Well, this is where, you go ask for some Tonglen powder and you begin to figure out how Tonglen as a medicine helps. Bringing you back to others, to compassion, to being awake to other people's experiences. And then Togal as an enhancement practice is really what Togal is, right? It's this kind of spiritual MSG. So when, the color is fading and the taste is just a little dull, you just get a sprinkle of Togal MSG. Big, the clarity, the vividness, the luminosity of everything, the shimmer, the sheen, the zhuzh of it all returns, right? And then you're practicing directly with this experience of luminosity. Right. So this is, I do really, really appreciate the way studying with Dr. Nita is changing me and trying to see as much as I can as medicine. But this is a really good example, right, of different Dharma modalities as medicine, as a way of being able to hone and address and just titrate, right, the practice of any kind of non-conceptual practice. And so since this is the union of Mahamudra and Dzogchen, so we're talking about both Mahamudra and Dzogchen, right? Using these things as little adjustments, right? Enhancements. Does that make sense? I think this is a good time to see if there are any questions about this part. I will also say that just because a lot of things are not written here doesn't mean they can't be included, right? So some other medicines, Rushen, right? For anybody who's done Dzogchen practice and has done this practice of Rushen. Of course, Chinrezi practice almost is a form of Rushen in a way. If you do the kind of longer sadhana where you go through all the 6 realms, right? It's kind of like this built in. There's this what's the one by Tongten Gyalpo is kind of the most well-known across lineages. Um, you visualize yourself going to the God realm, the demigod realm, the human realm, the hungry ghost realm, the animal realm, the hell realms, etc. as Chinrezi. But going for a run, or a swim, right? If you're feeling tight and stuck in your body, or if you're feeling, what he's pointing out is you have the ability to impact and create the change that might be needed when you know that a change is needed. If we become full of pride, go volunteer at a soup kitchen, right? When we become, when we forget our death, go volunteer at a hospice, or go lay down in a cemetery. Try and listen to all the beings that never wanted to be there that ended up there. Or when you're full of aggression, right? How to settle that. Right? When you're full of fear, how to settle this. So we really like have to become uh have to have some element of confidence and willingness to begin to look at these practices as ways of helping to titrate and adjust experience as it happens. And trusting ourselves, really. Like, trusting that. Does that all that makes sense? Excellent. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, so then we can move into this next song. And so this one is called Taking Death as the Path. Oh. So he begins by saying, Emaho, the purpose of the master's teachings and one's practice of the sacred Dharma is because of the need to clearly know exactly what to do at the time of death. Without that, there is no certainty whatsoever as to the state of mind of beings. Always keep in mind the uncertainty of the time of death. So it's funny, in the lead up to this class, I was lighting some incense. Then I was thinking, this year is coming to a close. My birthday happens to be in January, and my root teacher, I'm going to turn 49, and my root teacher died when she was 50, right? And so I was just kind of playing around in my mind. I was like, okay, maybe from now on, every year, I just have to live as if it's my last, right? So I'm going to try and live my next year as if it's my last year, and then do that again and again for 2 years. And then maybe that will be the last one. Who knows, right? One never knows, right? So always keep in mind the uncertainty of the time of death. Always keep in mind the uncertainty of the time of death. But without discrimination as to how much one is attached, one still dies, though trying to hold on. I saw this in hospice, almost all the time, right? Even when people know, oh, I feel it's stage 4 pancreatic cancer or liver cancer, and it is, there's no way I'm going to live out the next 6 months. Even then, it's amazing to watch people hold on. So this is not to, make fun of anybody, right? It's to really just demonstrate how seemingly innate, right, our desire to not want to die is. Without discrimination as to how much one is attached, one still dies though trying to hold on. Since even the flesh and bones you were born with must be thrown away, it is pointless to be attached to relatives and wealth. Therefore, offer mentally your friends, relatives, and wealth along with your body to your master in the 3 jewels. A little bit like Cha, but not really like actually doing Cha. Offer everything that you're attached to. Begin to offer it, begin to, and why is this helpful, right? Well, you can't know you're attached to it until you identify that, right? So begin to feel into what it is that you're attached to. Right? What are we attached to? But for me, probably my kids are the biggest thing, right? So imagine offering them, right? Or offering me so they don't have to, I don't know what, so they can just keep going and they don't have to watch me die or something like this. Or we'll offer both of us. So offer friends, relatives, wealth, everything that you cling to, right? Your title, your role on the library committee, some university where you get to pick one book a year for the university to purchase. That's the extent of your identity. You're standing in the community. All the things that you're really, if you imagine dying, right? And, imagine, like, what are the things that are hard for me to let go of? And sometimes this can be my anger, my resentment. And sometimes people are kept alive as if by poison, right? Their rage keeps them alive. So begin to get curious, right? Because it's never a good idea at the last minute. There was a while when the hospice I worked with signed a contract with this major cancer research hospital here in the city. And the kind of really difficult thing about this was that the people who would come onto hospice from this hospital would usually come on with sometimes half a day of hospice service, because this hospital really tried to kind of like implement every single kind of experimental uh, uh, extraordinary kind of means to try and treat whatever cancer was. And a lot of the cancers tended to be rather rare forms of cancer. However, there's a certain level of burnout that happened with our hospice, because when somebody is admitted into hospice, the team goes to meet with the person. There's a spiritual care assessment. There's a social work, assessment. There's, of course, the assessment that the nurse does in terms of relative comfort level and things like this. When you have half a day, what can you really do to bring benefit? Right? Almost nothing. Right? And then on the other side, the person who is trying to get some kind of resolution, some clarity before dying, in half a day. I mean, it's just so tragic, right? So tragic. 6 months is hard enough. Right? Who here is older than 6 months old? Right. Yes, good. Yeah, some of you look pretty old for 6 months. So let's say you're only 6 months old. Well, then, resolving that 6-month-old life over the course of the next 6 months is pretty good, right? But for anybody who's, I don't know, 40 or older, 6 months to wrap up a whole life, right, and to work through a lot of these problems is hard. Yeah. So anyway, really feeling into attachments. Right. Therefore, offer mentally your friends, relatives, and wealth along with your body to your master in the 3 jewels. And again, you're not doing this. I know the term master can be a little intense for people, but to your Lama, to your guru, to your teacher, master and guru, probably the same valence for a lot of folks. Having offered it, there's no point in worrying about who will take it or to whom it will belong, just as with something without an owner, right? So you do this just so that there's no worry about ownership, no worry about, so your partner, right? Oh my God, is my partner going to remarry? Are they going to fall in love with someone who's a better lover than me? Right? Will I be forgotten? All of these things, right? These worries happen. Remember that Gampopa's wife, right, as she was dying, said, "I never want you to remarry, right? I want you to become a monk." Because, she was a little like, I don't know if I want to see, from the bardo what happens next. And he did that. So even Gampopa's, Gampopa was very kind. He said, "Okay, I'll become a monk." Uh, And that was perhaps his way of caring for her. He says, visualize your body to be a yidam. So in this particular case, the great compassionate one. Imagine that above your head is Lord Amitabha, right? So the Buddha Amitabha. Why the Buddha Amitabha? Because the Buddha Amitabha presides over the Pure Land that is associated with Chinrezi, right, in this particular Buddha family. So imagine above your head is you in the form of Avalokiteshvara. Above your head is Amitabha in the form of your guru, who embodies all of the precious ones, and supplicate him or them. Block each of your 8 openings with the syllable Hri, right? Your eyes, your ears, your nostrils, your mouth, your anus, and the aperture through which you urinate. Right? So you block all of these openings with the syllable Hri. So imagining the syllable each of these locations. Within your body is a central channel the size of an average bamboo arrow. I was just joking with somebody about this, how specific these can get, right? So, sometimes, like, I guess it depends on how skinny your pinky is, but like a pen, this is about the size of a bamboo arrow, the width, right? So all the way down. In the heart center is your mind in the form of a white letter Hri. So all of the apertures through which your consciousness could leave the body are sealed. Your consciousness is in your heart center, in the central channel, in the form of a white letter Hri. And then you eject it repeatedly and dissolve it into the heart center of Amitabha. So usually when we do this, although there's not really this is not a formal practice, a formal instruction necessarily, but usually you go and then it shoots up. I'm going to perform this visualization 100 or 21 times. I'm following this without thinking of anything whatsoever to rest vividly awake in the practice of mind essence or into the nature of mind. Right, and this is how we do Poa. Right, so this is what he's talking about. He's talking about Poa, ejecting consciousness through the crown of one's head directly into Amitabha's heart. He says, no matter what occurs during the dissolution stage, right, and so this is as everything begins. So post-death, right? So you do Poa, poop, right? And then you do this right when you've died. And then this dissolution stage. So no matter what occurs during the dissolution stage, be it manifestation, increase, or attainment, you don't need to identify it individually, since there will not appear anything which is not your own mind. Just look into the essence of whatsoever may manifest. Right? So be it manifestation, increase, or attainment, whatever kind of experiences are arising, whatever you are seeing, right? This could be colors, right? You could see color white, you could see the color red, you could see blackness, you could see many things, right? This is probably one of the most profound instructions, since you don't need to identify it individually. Since there will not appear anything which is not your own mind, just look into the essence of whatsoever may manifest. Right? Holding it with awareness only. Recognizing that everything that arises is a manifestation of your mind. When the external breath has stopped, but not the inner one, the ground luminosity, like a cloudless sky, will dawn upon you. So rest in the continuity of that. If you remain for a long time, that is called taking hold of the practice. A sign of that is that your complexion will be nice and your eyes half open. And it is taught that also your mouth will look like it's smiling. So this is when you're dead. Right. So we find, who here has heard of Tukdam? Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so Tukdam is this, basically this is the Tukdam is the other side, right? So this is when we find people who are in Tukdam, there's tends to be warmth in the heart center. The flesh still has pliancy, right? Has anybody ever pinched a corpse? I have. Yeah, it's my favorite pastime, going around pinching corpses. But so when you do, right, when I pinch, see, luckily I'm still alive. The skin, kind of pops right back, right? But with a corpse, you pinch it and there's not really any pliancy. So there's warmth, there's the body is still kind of it kind of has a little bit of the same kind of glow that we have while we're alive, right? When somebody has died, it's almost as if there's a kind of muted quality to it. Also, in cases where tukdam lasts a good amount of time, meaning, a couple of days, or sometimes in some cases, weeks, it can last, there's no smell of the body decomposing. And so some people who have recently done this, Trungpa Rinpoche, had a tukdam for a couple of weeks. Others have manifested this as well. But so that is, how it appears to us who are still alive, right? What is happening on the quote unquote inside, right? So when the external breath has stopped, but not the inner one, the ground luminosity, like a cloudless sky, will dawn upon you. So rest in the continuity of that. If you remain for a long time, that is called taking hold of the practice. As a sign of this, your complexion will be nice, your eyes half open, and it is taught that also your mouth will look like it's smiling. The posture of squatting, sitting cross-legged, or in the sleeping lion posture, whichever way the funeral servant may place you in, actually, there is no difference between laying down or sitting up. Right? So remember that too. Like if you're leaving a detailed kind of note to people, when I die, place me in this position, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If one has not taken hold of the practice, or if one has no assistance, there's great benefit if your consciousness can leave through the Mahamaudra, right to the crown of the head, by performing the visualization of ejection at the moment of death. Right? So if nobody's around, right, that's maybe your best bet. Since this is the same principle as the Dharmakaya ejection, right, which is just resting into the natural state, he says there is no contradiction between the two, and this is the most stable method. Right? So there's a commentary on a Chu Sadhana, I think written by the 14th Karmapa. The commentary is written by Jamgon Khantrul Jatai, and he talks about his various forms of poa. And he mentions, I've actually spoken with Bokra Rinpoche, previous Bokra Rinpoche, about this in the abbot of his monastery, Kempo Vajradonyo, about this. They all felt that, this kind of Mahamudra style poa of just resting into Mahamudra is more beneficial. Right? It's a lot more simple. There's less buildup, and maybe even you could say performance anxiety that can happen, getting it right. right? So it's interesting, right? This is what they say. This is also what Karma Chagme says. There's no contradiction between the two, and this is the most stable method. After that, even if you have to wander in the bardo, by looking into the essence of whatever occurs, it becomes simply the empty forms of your mind's confusion. There does not exist even a single peaceful or wrathful deity, nor a yama. Right? So we will see all sorts of things. We will see, especially if we've done a lot of Dharma practice, peaceful deities, wrathful deities, semi-wrathful Rigzins. Right? We'll see Yadams coming, going. We may see Yama or Yama's henchmen. Right? They may come. Right? However, they are all nothing other than the expression of your mind. Right? So if we begin to say, "Oh shoot, there's Yama. Uh-oh, let me run away and get all stressed out." Well, what are we doing? We're falling into this play of reactivity. Right? The experience of the nature of mind in that moment is a little fraught. If we're able to just see, oh, this is like, the fog, early morning sky in Darjeeling. And as the sun comes up and it burns through, and then you have the clear sky. Right? The heat of the sun is awareness. It burns through any kind of experience of any kind, and leaving you in this experience of Rigpa. When Karma Chagme says, if after that you're about to take rebirth, you have from beginning of samsara until this moment circled through the 6 realms, taking one birth after the other. Birth, old age, sickness, and death have followed each other like beads on a string. Therefore, it is better to be wary and decide that you've had enough of samsara. Right? So if you have the opportunity, just remember, remember being in middle school when you're in the bardo. And then you may not want to, you'll just say, oh no, I'm not coming back. I'm going to Dewa-chan. Right? I'm going to, that's not, they don't have middle school in Dewa-chan. Or if it is, it's one big lotus blossom. Right? Or I'm going to go to Tanaduk and, hang out with Medicine Buddha and all the Song and the medicine dakinis. And I'm going to master my practice of Soa Rigpa. Or I'll go to Chanlo Chen and hang out with Shanala Mahakala. Right? Or I'll go to Uddiyana and spend time with Vajrayana and all of the dakinis. Right? Or I'll go, wherever, right? Go be with Tara. Right? Go be with Chakrasambhara. The suffering of the lower realms is unbearable. The births and deaths of gods and humans spin like a wheel. Thinking, now I shall go to a blissful place free from misery. I shall go to listen to the sacred Dharma from Amitabha in the realm of Sukhavati in the western direction. You should abandon all attachment and clinging and go, right? And he's basically like, quickly, pack your bags. Don't stick around. This place is unreliable. Anybody who's been in middle school knows that. And he says, it will not be necessary to travel by walking, nor will you need to fly there like a bird by its wings. Your mental body will arrive at the very moment of intending to be there. When born there, it is perpetually blissful without any misery, and you will even be able to accomplish the benefit of sentient beings. Having accomplished the levels, you can fulfill the aims of others through emanations. When dying, dissolve, therefore, into the heart of Amitabha. And Amitabha, the great thing about Amitabha and Medicine Buddha are very unified in the sutras associated with the Medicine Buddha and in the Sukhavati Voya Sutra associated with Amitabha. Both of these Buddhas have said that all you need to do is think of me and you will be reborn there. Right? There's no big thing. Right? You don't need to have like a ticket, right? Or a special invitation. Right? Just imagine being there and you will be there. Right? Some people don't trust that, they get all weird about it. I've met people who don't trust that. Oh, what if they're wrong? Well, why would a Buddha be lying about that? That seems awfully bizarre. Um, right. So then that's the end. And so then there's, the colophon. So as a response of gratitude for an offering of paper from the faithful tradesman Budu, these small songs on a practice in 8 chapters were based on notes of short teachings explained during 3 days. On the second day of the 4th month of the year of the tiger, they were completed in writing by Raga Ase, first Karmachami Rinpoche, Mangalam. So that's that. Does anybody have any thoughts or questions or feelings? Oh yeah, Richard.
Yeah. My question is why, when referring to pure lands related to whichever deity, is it framed in terms of going somewhere?
Oh, well, I mean, I think this is just the human referent, right? Like this is the way we express. Is it that way? I don't think so.
No, I mean, the sort of discourse of the death process is always about whatever phenomena arise are manifestations of mind,
Mhm.
right? And then, but the wishing to be reborn in the Pure Land or go to the Pure Land sort of creates this sense of it being other,
Mhm.
as opposed to all the other phenomena that arise. And I take your point. It's how we tend to think about the world, but so is disturbing phenomena, is creating them as other, is how we think about the world too. And yet it seems to hold to this notion that I wish to be reborn somewhere else.
Mhm.
It's just that kind of little dissonance arises from me when I hear that
Mhm.
language about the Pure Land.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think so. Where I land on this is, it makes me think of what it would be like for a non-Buddhist to do a dark retreat, and they will use their languaging to describe whatever it is that happens. And the only thing that's happening here is a Vajrayana Buddhist person, well steeped in a tradition that predates him. So Karma Chagme, first Karma Chagme. This is what he's using to explain it. And so there's an element of limitation to the words and concepts and all this stuff. Like the way it might actually happen is that upon forming the intention to, arise in a pure land, the pure land will probably just arise in that moment, that experience. But I think, like, this is the thing, right? Is like in the human realm, we can only experience what is localized to the human realm, typically, right? And so this includes our language, right? Humans are going to do human, which involves
Right. Yeah.
places, running away from harm, running towards love. But this is the limit of our human verbalization. I'm sure if somebody had asked him to write this differently, he would have. Does this make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It makes complete sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
In a sense, I mean, this is what I mean. I'm glad you're bringing this up though, because in a sense, Mahamudra and Dzogchen are trying to move us out of, humanoid or hominid thinking and
Yeah.
beyond what we assume to be what we do.
So, is there a distinction then between remaining in a state of awareness during the death process and aspiring to be somewhere else? In the sense of wanting to be reborn in the Pure Land. As I mean, it's often presented as the safest route at death to just think of Amitabha and be reborn in the Pure Land, rather than going through the more kind of challenging, if you like, process of just remaining aware through the cycles of the bardo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think I mean, this depends on the practitioner, but I think you're right. Like when in doubt, go for the easy thing. So this is like a little different from like American exceptionalism, where we're like, oh, I'm gonna be the one who like I'm gonna be like the Kanye West of the Bardo. Like I am really gonna nail this and be extraordinary as I do this. And it's almost as if like, the Tibetan approach is like, I might have the ability to do this, but I'm definitely going to go for the thing that's guaranteed to, produce, the beneficial results, which is to go to Amitabha's Pure Land. It's not to, and I'm making a little bit more out of it than maybe there is. But, as you well know, like the vicissitudes of our Klashic patterning is intense, and it would suck, just like in the vernacular, it would suck to be overconfident and then just be completely ripped out into some kind of place of intense anger or fear and then face that. So it's kind of like, how are you going to hedge your bets?
Yeah.
So you go to Las Vegas and you want to win $2,000 and you only have 50. How are you going to like hedge your bets as best you can to be able to kind of get to that goal? Are you gonna place all the $50 on one square on roulette, or are you gonna try and go a little bit more methodically?
So, just to follow that, then why would one not just adhere to the Pure Land sects of Buddhism, which throw all their money onto that square, knowing that it's so reliable?
Well,
Why all this emphasis on pure awareness? When there's this more sort of piety based option, which is presented as the most reliable path.
well, I don't even know that it's piety though. I think it's faith-based.
Well, that's not a good choice of words, actually.
Yeah, but faith-based. So, I mean, just the risk. The risk is something that you and I everybody here gets to decide for themselves. Like, is this a risk I'm willing to take? And
Yeah.
if it is, then no sweat. You know, you can dissolve right into Rigpa and turn into a rainbow, and that's beautiful, right? But if we're
Yeah.
like, actually, the way my body's been declining, and the fear or the sadness or whatever it is that's coming up, I actually didn't think that would happen. Like I've seen this happen with people, at the end of life. And so it's best to just have access to both opportunities. And then you can decide. Or if you have an incredibly painful physical decline that just really sucks everything out of you, and you're like, I can't go on any longer. I've seen people, die this way.
Yeah, me too.
If I were in that situation, I think I would just say, well, but man, like I will take one lifetime in Dewa Chen and then come back and finish this off, maybe, or not, who knows? But like what Karma Chugme is offering are opportunities, and I think what he's saying is like, some of these things are near guarantees. Why not go for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other thoughts or questions, feelings? No? Okay. All right. Yeah, well, thank you all. It's been a pleasure to be here, and I hope this has been useful. So we will move on. Actually, next week we won't be having this because I'm trying to take actually a whole week to not do anything other than be around my family. So we will pick this up in actually, what did we say? I just want to make sure that we got all this super clear, especially for people that are going to be watching the recording. So we said, yeah, January 2nd is good. So that's the next Tuesday after the following Tuesday. So we'll return January 2nd. For now, let's dedicate the merit, dedicating the merit so that all practitioners are able to manifest the practice of the union of Mahamudra and Dzogchen. And that when the time of death comes, that we're able to successfully bring the practice of Dharma to the dying process. May all beings who are in the Bardo process right now be able to recognize their minds as pure, limitless Rigpa, and may bliss waves and rainbows help liberate everyone throughout the 3 times and 10 directions. Thank you all very, very much. Andy, did you paint that painting? I have to ask.
Thank you, Lama. Justin, yes, this is one of my doodles.
Oh, it's so cool. And is it painted on linen?
No, it's painted on plywood.
Okay, even cooler. Nice. I love it. I love it. Excellent. Well, thank you all. Enjoy, if you celebrate Christmas and New Year's, and we'll see you in 2024. Take good care, everyone.
You
Be
will.
well. Bye.